Okay, so this is a quick video that I'm making with regards to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and the Pokemon Trainer in that. I just came back from E3 yesterday and I had quite the opportunity to play as these characters. I not only was able to play in the main area of E3, but I also had some games with some very solid players, very good players. At the VIP area, I was able to play there. So I've played quite a bit of this character. And of course, a lot of you people probably know me as a Charizard main in Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U. So I thought I would spend some time breaking down this character. Now, of course, the game is half a year away. So as a disclaimer, the stuff that I shall be discussing in this video is subject to change. As well as this, some of my observations may not explicitly be correct, but I will try my best to highlight to you guys what my observations were. So, without further ado, I shall begin. So I'll start off with Squirtle. Now, Squirtle of the three characters is the smallest, the lightest, and the fastest in the air, but also the slowest on the ground. Compared to his Brawl iteration, his running animation has changed, so he no longer scuttles about, and then when he does his turnaround, he no longer pops into his shell, so he no longer has any of his shell shifting tech from Brawl. Instead, he kind of rides this cute little surf wave, and it looks lovely, and it's a nice little animation. Thematically, quite a few more of Squirtle's attacks involve water attacks. His forward air, it's the same sort of drop kick that was there in Brawl, but it has a little spiral of water around it, same with the dash attack. And his forward smash is now a completely different move. It is this kind of wave, like slashing wave of water in front of him. All three of Squirtle's smash attacks are very, very slow, but they all hit very, very hard, which is complete contrast to the rest of his kit, which for the most part is very quick and has a lot of, has very little cooldown on it. His jab is incredibly quick. I'm not sure if it's still frame 1. I think it might be frame 2 now compared to Brawl. But it's a very quick jab, nice boxing tool, although it doesn't quite have the range that his Brawl jab had as well. Forward tilt and up tilt are still incredibly quick moves. Forward tilt being a nice little poke, and up tilt setting up into combos excellently. Meanwhile, his down tilt, the slowest of his three moves, but still not super slow, and it has a pretty good amount of range on it. It's another one of his moves that they added water effects to. It's also not double hit like in Brawl. In Brawl, it used to be a little spin, but now it's only a single hit move. His aerials are probably where he shines the best. His airspeed is comfortably the best of the three Pokemon, and his full speed is also pretty good. He's very maneuverable in the air, and his aerials are all very quick and string into each other effectively. It was kind of awkward to set up those combos at the E3 demo because tap jump was enabled, and it took a little bit of getting used to with the controls. But Squirtle definitely is capable of setting up a lot of combo strings, similar to how he was in Brawl. You know, he can do up air juggles, he can carry you across the stage with forward air combos, he could do early forward air or back air into up tilt, start juggling from there and go into a neutral air, stuff like that. Speaking of his aerials, once again, they've also changed up a little bit. His neutral air is not quite the same as it was in Brawl. Instead, it's kind of like a more vertical spin instead of the horizontal one in Brawl. His back air is completely different now. Instead of being the same as his forward air, but backwards, it's now kind of a spinning move. It's essentially a horizontal version of his down air, or something similar to Fox's 64 forward air, but backwards. It's one of his more damaging aerials as well, a lot of good active frames on it. And of course, like all of his aerials, it has pretty low landing lag, for the exception of his down air. Down air is very similar to Mario's down air, except it doesn't actually have a landing hitbox. I was testing this out to see if I could, you know, drag the opponent down with the down air, hit them with a landing hitbox, and then combo off of that, but to no avail, sadly. Now, in terms of his specials, Water Gun is very similar to how it was before. It pushes the opponent back, doesn't deal any damage or knockback. Very much the same as like Flood, but except it charges a bit faster. His Waterfall up special is very similar to how it was in Brawl. You know, decent damage, not particularly incredible in terms of knockback or anything like that. In the context of this game, it might be pretty decent to try to chase the opponent off the top of the screen due to there only being one air dodge, but the startup of the move isn't all that quick, so you have to keep that in mind. Withdraw is probably one that's changed the most. When Withdraw connects with the hitbox or shield or hurt box, instead of carrying through the opponent, carrying on through the opponent, it instead bounces back. Now on shields, after it bounces back, you can air dodge back to create some space if you're not in a position to be punished. And the move has pretty decent knockback. It can knock the opponent pretty far back. It's probably one of his more solid high percent KO moves if you're able to land it. It also doesn't put him helpless in the air, so you can recover fairly high up using side B and then be able to up B afterwards. In terms of his throws are pretty much very similar to how they were in Brawl. His down throw has pretty solid knockback. His other throws have pretty low knockback, but they can set up into some other advantageous scenarios. You know, get himself some stage positioning, maybe set up for some low percent strings or tech chases, all that good stuff. So for the most part, Squirtle feels like a pretty higher skill floor than the other three characters, He is very much one of those sort of Sheik or Pikachu combo based characters that can have a bit of a hard time securing kills. None of his aerial attacks or grounded attacks are really particularly good at getting kills. His smash attacks, of course, are very, very strong, but they're all slow. I mean, honestly, the best ones that you could probably use are up smash to anti-air, but even then that's really slow, or down smash to tech chase, but again, it's very slow. So moving on to Ivysaur. Now, Ivysaur is kind of the overall balanced one of the three. Ivysaur has great range on her attacks and has the middle ground in terms of speed, weight, and airspeed. Ivy's frame data isn't particularly amazing on the ground. A jab isn't super fast, but it's been changed like all rapid jabs so that it has a finishing hit. It's pretty reliable now, but not super fast. Down tilt and dash attack are her fastest ground moves. Down tilt was changed from Brawl, it's now only a single strike, while forward tilt is the same, it's the rapid spinning leaf attack, and up tilt is the same, being the sort of anti-air body attack. Her smashes are much like Squirtle's, also rather slow. Down smash is a bit faster and has really good lateral range. It's definitely a bit better than the Brawl one, which was incredibly weak. Forward smash and up smash are very powerful. Up smash, I think, may still potentially be the most powerful up smash in the game, which makes sense considering how absurdly slow that move is. That move is incredibly slow but incredibly strong. Meanwhile, in terms of aerial attacks, Ivysaur's neutral air, much like Squirtle's, has also changed. It's now a spinning leaf attack that definitely feels like it has better hitboxes than the previous Nair. A little bit of disjoint on that move. Forward air is a big vine slam, slow but pretty powerful, hits at approximately a 75-degree angle, launches the opponent, and can kind of put you in a position where you can apply pressure from below. Back air is going to be one of Ivysaur's main zoning tools. Good mid-range move with a lot of range and fairly low damage output, but it covers a lot of area and it comes out really fast. It also auto-cancels on short hop, much like the neutral air does as well. Up air is pretty dang strong, one of the stronger aerials among the Pokemon Trainer as a whole, and you can combo into it from other moves at mid percents and low percents. so that is definitely one to look out for. It pushes Ivysaur down, allowing her to reach the ground quickly. And finally, the down air is a meteor attack, a meteor smash. But it's very slow in terms of end lag and aerial end lag. And it's also fairly laggy upon landing. So if you use it, be mindful of the fact that it puts Ivysaur in quite a vulnerable position. It can still stall your descent like you can in Brawl, but if you whiff the move, or even if you hit it, sometimes on hit it can be unsafe. You have to keep in mind that the move has a lot of aerial cooldown and a decent amount of landing lag on it as well. Outside of that though, this character is definitely going to be one that focuses on mid-range zoning and control, and having a decent set of tools to manage that. Now in terms of her specials, Bullet Seed has changed this time round. Much like the rapid jabs of the game, it has a finishing blow at the top. The minimum damage of the move, if you like kind of tap B and let it go for its minimum amount of time, is about 12% for the time being. So it's pretty good as an anti-air as well as something to just kind of catch your opponent off guard. It does have a hitbox at the start at ground level to kind of scoop the opponent into the rest of the Bullet Seed. So it's a pretty solid move now, particularly since SDI so far in this game isn't particularly prevalent like it was in Brawl. Razor Leaf this time round doesn't really have any random factors to it like it did in Brawl, I believe. Instead, it's just a very straightforward, solid mid-range projectile that hits a couple of times and can be comboed out of if you hit it at like close or mid-range. You can combo into moves like neutral air, like raw back air, all that good stuff. It pops them a little bit too high to get a grab confirm off of it, but it's a pretty solid projectile. And then finally you have Vine Whip. Now the interesting thing about Vine Whip this time around is that because of the tether mechanics in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate that carried on from Smash 4, Ivysaur doesn't get ledged. Ivysaur doesn't just lose to people grabbing the ledge. She is able to tether onto the ledge even when somebody is occupying it. This of course is really nice for her up B. But in addition to that, whenever she whiffs up B, she doesn't actually go into helpless fall. She instead suffers a little bit of aerial end lag and then is able to still act afterwards. This of course is really nice for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you're trying to recover and the vine misses, you're not completely helpless. And number two, if you use it versus aerial opponents and whiff, you're not, again, completely helpless. The move is still strong at the sweet spot of the tip, so yes, bear that in mind. So Ivysaur is pretty similar to how she was back in Brawl. A couple of changes, quality of life things, have definitely helped solidify what this character's archetype was aiming to do. Oh, also her throws. Her grab is a little slow. It's basically a tether grab, but down throw and up throw can start low percent combos, and back throw is actually now a kill throw at high percent of the ledge. Kind of similar to a Mario-esque kill throw at the ledge. It's pretty strong. And finally, moving on to Charizard. Now, Charizard, of course, was a character that I mained in Smash 4, so it's much easier for me to notice the differences between this incarnation of the character and the previous one. And Charizard is kind of the reverse of Squirtle, where his airspeed isn't all that good, much like how it was in the previous games, but his ground speed is incredibly fast. His run and dash feel even faster than they did in Smash 4. He still has his good walk speed as well. And he's probably, out of the three Pokemon, the one that benefits the most from the universal mechanic changes. Charizard's incredible ground speed alongside its good ground buttons, such as, of course, that amazing jab that he still maintains, although it does a little bit less damage this time. Amazing jab combo, you know, he's got those pokes like down tilt and forward tilt. He can run in and up tilt people. It seemingly seems like the up tilt has a worse hitbox than it did in Smash 4, at least vertically. But the move is still definitely a solid anti-air, and his wings seem to maintain the intangibility that they had. Well, not the intangibility, the wings still seem to maintain the fact that they don't have hurt boxes like they did in Smash 4. In terms of Charizard's damage output compared to the previous game, the only moves that I really noticed had a noticeable damage output change outside of, you know, the 1v1 damage increase were Jab, which deals a little bit less damage, and Flare Blitz, which deals more. Another thing that I realized about Charizard is that there are a handful of animations in his kit that seem to bring his head to the side, which leaves his hurt box less exposed when whiffing moves. Noticeably, I noticed this on his grab and his forward air. Charizard brings his head essentially into the Z-axis to avoid getting punished, which is really, really nice. It means that this character can afford to whiff moves a little bit more in these sorts of instances. One of the big fixes that I noticed for Charizard, there are two big fixes I would say. Up Smash now seems to connect incredibly reliably. In situations where I know for a fact that it wouldn't have connected in Smash 4, such as when the opponent is behind Charizard, they connected in Smash Ultimate. This is a really, really good buff for this character, because if this character now has a very consistent, reliable up smash, which based on my demo time he did, that is going to be an incredibly effective kill move for this character. It was already one of his best kill moves and one of the best up smashes in the game when it was unreliable in Smash 4, but now it's making a strong case for potential up smash, potential best up smash in the game, provided nothing changes and provided a lot of the other character up smashes remain about the same. So yeah, it's looking like a really, really good move now. The other one that was fixed was his back air. For those of you who don't know, back air previously used to suffer from Z-axis issues back in Smash 4. The final frame, because his tail was so far in the Z-axis, it would miss completely, but now that doesn't seem to be the case. It covers the full giant arc of attack that it's meant to, and it's just as strong as it is in Smash 4. What this means, especially in a game where you only get one air dodge per air time, is that this move is incredibly threatening in terms of air-to-air situations. Very few characters are able to challenge the range of this move, and even if they are able to kind of trade with it, in almost every instance it's going to be a losing trade. So yeah, back air incredibly scary now. In addition to this, a number of other, well, primarily Charizard's landing aerials all have less lag on them. Quite a noticeable bit less lag. It was very noticeable on neutral air, up air, and down air in particular. Those moves have quite a bit less lag on them. In terms of nerfs that I noticed for this character, unfortunately, it seemed like his neutral air and forward air had worse auto-cancel windows. Neutral air only barely auto-cancels on short hop now, and the timing of that move is very awkward to auto-cancel, particularly since its hitboxes weren't really improved. But forward air no longer auto-cancels on short hop, and that's kind of a big deal because it means that the character lacks an effective rising aerial that they can use to trade with in those situations, since forward air is no longer particularly safe. So you have to be, well, not safe rising anyway, so you have to be careful in when you jump. Fly was Fly, his up special, also seems about the same, so it's not completely reliable and it doesn't connect reliably. The hitboxes of that move still very much seem to be primarily just in front of Charizard rather than on and behind him. So that move is pretty much the same. I've seen talk about it going higher, but it doesn't seem to be, that doesn't seem to be the case to me. Flamethrower is pretty much the same as it was before as well. Obviously a very solid mid-range move for controlling neutral. It may not be as useful in this game considering the way that movement is, but we'll see. It's definitely going to at least still be useful as an edge guarding move. And now finally, Flare Blitz. Flare Blitz has all the same risks that it did in Smash 4. You know, it still puts you into that hard, untechable knockdown. It still deals that same amount of recoil damage, up to 10% if you connect the move. But the reward for landing the move is a lot higher in this game. The move deals 26% in 1v1 situations, so probably about 22% outside of that. And it kills ludicrously early. It is probably Zard's strongest KO option outside of like charge forward smash now. It is absurdly powerful. I managed to kill Fox across the stage at 70%. That definitely would not have happened in Smash 4. It is a ludicrously strong move now, and one that might actually have a place in Charizard's Tech Chase game. So watch out for the Flare Blitz. Now, of course, I can talk about these three characters individually. The characters are all kind of built around the idea that all of them are usable by themselves. Pokemon Trainer as a whole no longer has the stamina mechanic, and the Pokemon themselves don't have their type weaknesses like they did in Brawl. So they all stand on their own accord a lot better. However, this character I definitely feel is strongest when they're played all together as a team. Each one of them kind of compensates for the other's weaknesses. Squirtle's lack of range and lack of KO power is made up by Ivysaur and Charizard. Ivysaur's slow buttons at times are sort of made up by Squirtle. And the underwhelming recovery is made up by Charizard. If you whiff the Vine Whip in the air, you can use Pokemon Switch to switch into Charizard and recover back to the stage. If you've jumped in midair already when you use the Pokemon Switch, only Charizard maintains one more jump. So if Squirtle double jumps, Ivysaur will be without a jump. If Ivysaur double jumps, Charizard will have one jump. And if Charizard has used all of his jumps, Squirtle obviously will be without a jump. That's how it is at the moment. The Pokemon Switch itself is incredibly fast. I want to say that the intangibility for that Switch occurs frame 1, frame 2. It is super fast, and there's not too much cooldown on it either. In this game, where characters can only air dodge once per airtime, this is an invaluable tool in order to escape disadvantage. And being able to dynamically switch on the fly is just incredibly helpful in terms of maintaining advantage with each of the Pokemon. If you try to switch in Brawl, the switch took super long, so either you'd lose all of your advantage, or you'd be putting yourself in an incredibly punishable position, such that your opponent would be able to hit you afterwards. But now, of course, that's not the case. It's very easy to switch on the fly between the three Pokemon. The fact that you also have a 3-in-1 package also means that the character can dynamically shift things up depending on matchups and depending on certain situations. You know, if you need a small character to be able to get around maybe a character like Sheik, you can obviously start off with Squirtle. But then if they're getting into that kill range, Charizard is probably your best bet because of his plethora of kill moves. Meanwhile, if you want to play a more defensive type game and try and focus on keeping your opponent out, maybe against one of the heavies for instance, you may want to start picking up or stick with Ivysaur. This character has the absolute potential to be a very scary one in Ultimate's meta, I believe. If people can really crack down on how the switching mechanics work and how each character can work in different matchups. I'm personally very excited to see what happens with this character in the future, and I cannot wait until the game is released. It feels a ton of fun to play. It's fast. It's definitely a very different experience from Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U and 3DS. And honestly, there's a real amount of potential, and it feels like the team is really paying attention to what the competitive players have to say. So, I'm sorry that this video was a bit of a mess, and I'm sorry if it felt like it was a bit too long, but thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.